Hello, this is Marquette, and I wanted to take a minute to explain the process I used to get stakeholder buy-in for my own flipped classroom during the 2012-2013 school year. I'm hoping that my process can be a model for others as you seek to get stakeholder buy-in. First, we need to define what a stakeholder is, and this idea was established by Karen Gross and Pamela Godwin in a 2005 article in University Business Magazine called Education's Many Stakeholders. And they define stakeholder as follows: individuals or entities who stand to gain or lose from the success or failure of a system or an organization. So in my own mind, stakeholders are individuals who are either going to benefit or in some way lose depending on the success of the system in which I am operating. So these are people who care about education. Now that I know what a stakeholder is, I can start to explore who my stakeholders might be. And I have identified four main groups of stakeholders. These four main groups are students, parents, administration, and my colleagues. In order to gain student buy-in, I actually directly instructed them on the Prussian paradigm and how a flipped class might benefit them. You can see that direct instruction in the 5-minute video where I'm actually introducing the students to the idea of the flipped classroom. So I took the time to answer their questions. I recognize that when you are changing a paradigm, that makes people very uncomfortable. So I thought that allowing class discussion, allowing me the time and the space to explain why this might be beneficial to students was going to be imperative to their buy-in. For my older students, for my seniors, I actually sent them home with the chapter from Kahn's book, The One World Schoolhouse, called The Prussian Paradigm. My intention there was to expose them to the purpose for the Prussian paradigm when it was established in 1890. Young people in particular are very invested in autonomy and in feeling independent. And so I thought that if they understood that the system in which we are operating is designed precisely to limit that autonomy and that independence, that I could much more easily gain student buy-in. And I found that that was successful. To be clear, while I solicited student feedback, and I did make adjustments to how the flipped classroom was operating, I did set some non-negotiables. I think this is key as well when trying to change a paradigm, because as change is uncomfortable, part of the change process is resistance. And so recognizing that there will be resistance and setting a few things that you are not going to negotiate on is part of the process for moving this change forward. So for instance, just as students in this flipped professional development are submitting content and creating content via a wiki, so were my juniors. And there was a very steep learning curve, so I recognized that while the participation on the wiki was non-negotiable, this was the medium by which students were handing in homework assignments and writing their essays, I decided to use something similar to a mastery learning method, which we can talk about in a future class. So again, exploring with students why the Prussian paradigm is not meeting their needs, stating that the decision to move to a flipped classroom is deliberate, it's purposeful, and it has their best interests in mind, and allowing them time to ask questions that you may not have considered are all key steps to gaining student buy-in.